Very good evening. Saturday, the 14th of June 2025. My name is Raja Mir, and this is one of those requisite 9 transmissions. The story of how we got here, which is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom being forced into announcing a national grooming gang inquiry. The story of how we got here has many beginnings. And no doubt there are many people lining up to take plaudits and praise for the role that they played. And so they should. So they should. No one person's efforts, sacrifices have got us this far. And we won't be. We wouldn't be where we are if it had not been for so many of you. Because the fact is, sorry, I'm eating a mint. The fact is, the Prime Minister has not done what he's done because of any survivor, any campaign, any whistleblower. No journalist. We've all played our parts, but no. The Prime Minister has done this because he's scared of each and every one of you, ordinary members of the public. So whilst this story has many beginnings, we have got to where we've got to because of each and every one of you. That cannot be underestimated. And it is more than just a footnote. The nation now knows of the cover-up. The nation is you. And for those who want to talk about plaudits and praise, the beginning of this story isn't Maggie Oliver. The beginning of this story isn't Tommy Robinson. The beginning of this story isn't Charlie Peters, and it most definitely is not me or Rupert Lowe or anyone like that. The beginning of this story, a political story, is the man Warren Bates. He is the person who repeatedly and relentlessly pestered me. That's the right word, pestered me. And I sat in his living room and I looked at the pile of papers, the dossier he presented me, and we began our journey that day. And I think it's fitting. I've just put my daughter to bed in the room next to me. She's full of a cold. And she doesn't quite understand yet how far we've come, but I'm so fortunate because I'm alive to see it. My friend Warren Bates isn't. So if anyone wants to take praise, remember, we were nowhere until we made it political. You can have 1 million men and women at a demonstration in Whitehall. It'll make no difference. You can have Maggie Oliver on the telly with thousands of victims. It'll make no difference. What made the difference was holding the politicians to account, and the man who started that was Warren Bates. And you need to know his name. And you need to know what he looked like. And maybe one day there'll be a statue of him in the council chamber of my hometown in Oldham. Now, it is a momentous event because this has been forced from them. They've been shamed into doing this. And they've been shamed into doing this in the end because of the overwhelming evidence that even the government own hand-picked report writer couldn't deny. And what's been happening over the last few weeks or so, when the leak started coming out, was there was a fight going on. And this is my analysis of it. Take it or leave it. It's entirely up to you. There was a fight taking place between Casey's team and Jess Phillips and her lot, the Yvette Cooper. And the Prime Minister tried to distance himself so he could say it didn't cross my desk. She'd gone away and come back and the evidence was conclusive, as it's always been. There was the industrial scale grooming and gang rape of this nation's children. It was, the victims were predominantly white working class girls and the perpetrators were disproportionately Pakistani Muslim men. The authorities knew and failed to intervene for fear of maintaining community relations, fear of being called a racist, whatever you want to say. And then the police held these girls in contempt because of their class, describing them as prostitutes, remember, yesterday. And then the politicians at first covered it up and then realised it was in their interest. They benefited from the exchange of working class white girls for votes from the Pakistani rape clans. So that is something they couldn't cover up anymore. And what was meant to happen was the report was meant to be published on Wednesday or after Wednesday because the Conservatives were taking another amendment next week for another vote for a national inquiry. And they were trying to delay the report till after Wednesday. Casey, being the independent woman she wants to be portrayed as, and who wants to be on the wrong side of history on this? Who in the right mind wants to be on the wrong side of history on this? Baroness Casey her team started leaking information because they were being put on pressured to redact and rewrite entire sections. We now know this is true. This is what they did. Dominic Cummings admitted to it earlier on last week, back in the last week. The previous report published by the Home Office on the Suella Braverman is a cover-up. It tried to hide the correlation. So, he'd have to vote it down whilst this report came out. And this report, remember, was commissioned by them. So they were stuck. And as late in this scandal as this morning, my understanding is the Home Office were contacting survivors, as in Jess Phillips contacting survivors, trying to get some of them on board or pretend that they've consulted with them to try and fudge it again. So it was going to be a watered down version with new interventions. No. We released information this morning. Charlie Peters has been relentless on GB News. Rupert Lowe's rape gang inquiry team have opened up another front. They timed it. None of this is accidental or coincidental, you need to understand. They timed the opening of the call for evidence to crescendo with this. Hundreds, is my understanding, hundreds of survivors, whistleblowers have already contacted them from across the country, submitting testimony. And the Prime Minister was left in no other position but to announce a national public inquiry. In January, he had called us a far-right bandwagon. So that is where we now are. And I accept the pessimism among so many of you. And on a different day, I would criticize you. But not today. Today, I'll share with you this. For 6 years, we have been campaigning for a public inquiry. They tried to kill me. They tried to put me in prison. They tried to incite violence against me. And now we have a public inquiry. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that battle is now over. That fight is done. But you need to understand, I wasn't born yesterday. I fully expect the government and the machinery of the state to try and rig this public inquiry. And a new battle now begins. And that battle is to hold them to account and make sure that this public inquiry focuses on what it needs to focus on, which includes naming, shaming, identifying and prosecuting public officials and politicians involved in the cover-up. And that is why Rupert Lowe has already confirmed that the independent rape gang inquiry funded by 20,000 of you will continue and run in parallel. This is unprecedented in this country. We've forced them to this position and will continue to force them to a place where they confirm the following. How long has this been going on? How many of our children were gang raped? How many perpetrators were there? Who was specifically involved in the cover-up at the time and subsequently? And what are we going to do to these people? How will we hold them to account? I am very clear. 2 days ago, they knew what was coming and they went after YouTube and pulled 9 of my videos for defamation. Bring it on. I'll see the Labour Party in the High Court. I'll see whichever one of their politicians in the High Court who claimed I've defamed them. They pulled Andy Gould's Heretics podcast, which had over 500, 600,000 views, because they were still trying to cover this up. And now we're in a place where the cover-up will shift. They will try and contain this. Do you not think I'm not aware of this? Do you not think I'm not familiar with what they're doing? Or what they'll attempt to do? There is absolutely no need to be pessimistic right now. We've kicked the front door down. And we've marched in. We know what move they will make next, and we will be ready to counter it and keep countering it. And it is that. And sorry, I have no idea what's going on with this, so my apologies. That's why I can't put comments on. I'm not sure what's going on. So thank you for the super chats. And thank you for staying with me. Now what I need to say to you is you need to stay positive. Saying what's the point of a public inquiry when we've been fighting for 6 years isn't going to get us anywhere. Saying that they're going to stitch it up anyway, or what's the point, isn't going to get us anywhere. We wanted this. And now you have to trust us. Trust those of us who've been fighting for this to be able to maneuver within this space. And hold them to account and make sure that they can't cover up the cover-up of the cover-up of the cover-up. And what I desperately need you to do is help keep it in the public spotlight. Do not go down the road of aimlessly shouting and screaming at them. You need to engage this now. We've got here with this, yes. But we now need to be more cleverer than we ever have been. Now what he will try and do, as in Starmer, I'll bring up a story for you so you can see it. I just need to find my mouse. He says. Here we go. Sir Keir Starmer wants a national inquiry to be held into grooming gangs in a dramatic shift in his position after months of resistance. The Prime Minister said on Saturday that he had been convinced a full statutory inquiry was the right thing to do after a review by Baroness Casey of Blackstock. The findings and recommendations of her review, which was commissioned by the Home Office in January, will be set out by Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary in Parliament, on Monday. Casey is expected to explicitly link the grooming gangs issue to men of Pakistani origin and say that white British girls who were targeted were institutionally ignored for fear of racism. I mean, that's bullshit. But don't worry about that. They were not institutionally ignored. Institutions do not ignore. People ignore. Individuals ignore. The scandal was first exposed by the Times investigative journalist Andrew Norfolk in 2011, who revealed a pattern of mainly white teenage girls being groomed by gangs of adult men of Pakistani heritage. Yes, it was. But then the Times lost interest. It was no longer politically relevant. Starmer said he had changed his mind after asking Casey to double check his previous argument. That's nonsense. Double check. Because Casey's... he's a liar. Let me read the sentence first. Starmer said he had changed his mind after asking Casey to double check his previous argument that a national inquiry would delay justice and detract from implementing more than 200 previous recommendations. The Casey inquiry, the rapid audit, was not commissioned to double check whether or not a national inquiry was required. That wasn't the remit of the Casey review. The review is clearly so damning, so I believe what's now taking place is because he's agreed to a public inquiry. They're trying to deflect away from the contents of the report or having some last-minute alterations made to this report to take out some of the most damning details. Speaking to reporters while travelling to the G7 summit in Canada on Saturday afternoon, the Prime Minister said, "I've never said we should not look again at any issue." He called us far right. "I wanted to be assured that on the question of an inquiry, that's why I asked Louis Casey, who I hugely respect, to do an audit." He's a liar. This is a massive U-turn. This is a massive U-turn. Because of you. And the relentless pressure. And yes, people like Charlie Peters, who's put it on the news, the analysis taking place. They can't hide it anymore. She's looked at the material and she has come to the view there should be a national inquiry. Her remit was never that. And I'll prove it to you when I do a transmission tomorrow or Monday on this in detail. On the basis of what she's seen. I've read every single word of her report. See, I told you yesterday the report, they'd already seen it. And I'm going to accept her recommendation. I think that's the right thing to do. He added that the inquiry would be statutory, meaning that it will have the power to compel witnesses, although the government is still working out when it can be launched. The debate about gangs and the authorities who failed to act was reignited at the start of this year when Elon Musk, the world's richest man, accused the Prime Minister and ministers of failing to act. At the time, Starmer refused calls from the Tories and Reform UK to launch a new national inquiry, setting aside £5 million for 5 late local inquiries instead, including in Oldham. So we know, the people of my town who are here with me in the chat, and I'm sorry, I can't work out what's wrong with this. Let me try again. See if I can fix it, because I'd love to put some of your comments up. Thank you. I know what's needed, mate. Doing it is something else. Ian's this IT guy friend of mine who's, been been on this journey with us since the beginning, or near enough the beginning. I don't know why it changed, Ian. Okay. So there you have it. They're in trouble. They're in absolute trouble because of what we've done. 6 years it took us to get that council to send that email off to the government. And when Elon Musk intervened, he intervened because Charlie Peters shared a letter that I'd shared a few hours earlier on New Year's Day. They will try and restrict the terms of reference of the public inquiry. We will be there to hold them to account. They will try to drag it out, to avoid holding to account politicians in government who are now complicit in the rape gangs. In my own town, the council has already issued a statement claiming they are looking forward to working with the statutory inquiry. They're not. Arud Shah is a Pakistani gangster endorsed council leader. We know the Pakistani gangsters' links to the rape gangs. A council leader with direct associations with the Pakistani gangs should be nowhere near it. And she repeatedly voted with her team of councillors against a public inquiry. Repeatedly. My sources have confirmed she marched into a meeting with Tom Crowther, a council leader who's got mobsters on speed dial looking at you whilst you're a survivor. Give over. Jim McMahon, when the inquiry was launched in Oldham, went to the newspapers and issued statements about how he was going to inform the parameters of the investigation. These people cannot be anywhere near it. And let me just move on and talk to you. Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister for girls, her position is now untenable. She's the one who fronted the refusal for a public inquiry, saying there was no need. She now has to resign. She has to resign. Her position is untenable. I will testify against Jim McMahon. I'll testify against Debbie Abrahams. Debbie Kashmir, we call her in Oldham. She's one of 3 Oldham MPs. Debbie Abrahams falsified evidence to have me arrested in an attempt to have me prosecuted because I exposed the cover-up of the gang rape of children. McMahon worked with his Pakistani goons to come after me. I'll testify against Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister. Involved in the cover-up, I'll testify against Andy Burnham, the Greater Manchester Mayor, neck deep in the cover-up. Sean Fielding, now a councillor in Bolton, at the time leader of Oldham Council, neck deep in the cover-up. Abdul Jabbar, who was mayor at the time, his relationship with the Rochdale grooming gang. A whole host of other Labour councillors. Arud Shah, chair of the National Constitutional Committee, who blew up her car. I'd wager she did, in an attempt to try and kill this story. I'll testify against every last one of them. with evidence. So, and Greater Manchester Police, indeed, the CPS, aiding and abetting falsifying evidence in an attempt to have me prosecuted. I've got the names of the prosecutors. I kept all of that. I'll testify against the Manchester Evening News, the Oldham Times, the Manchester Evening News knew. Warren Bates and his team went to them at the time, pleading with them to run with the story. Safeguard our children. They never did, because of the political links. So don't worry about them wanting to cover this up. We know they will want to cover this up. Do you think they've changed their mind? Do any of you really think they've changed their mind? The Prime Minister's changed his mind. We've manoeuvred him into this position, and he has nowhere else to run. So we'll launch this public inquiry and hope that they can get away with it like perhaps they got away with other public inquiries, but they can't and they won't because of people like us. It's done it again, hasn't it? How do I feel? I'm coming to terms with just what we've achieved, Louise. For those of you who don't know Louise met me here in this space. She cried when I walked out of court, a free man, after the last of the cases against me collapsed. As for what next, it's exactly this. And we have to get smarter. We've got to learn how to ask the right questions. And the right questions are not to say, oh, it's going to be a cover-up, or what's the point? Or squabble amongst ourselves. We need to start asking for the terms of reference. And the terms of reference, so we're clear, have got to be informed by, in part at least, what cases report shows. So don't worry about that. I will do that. As soon as I get my hands on that report, I will do that. I will put something together and I'll get it to Rupert Lowe and the rape gang, the rest of our rape gang team. And by Wednesday, the government will know, because you know what we say, then Rupert and his team picks up on GB News, picks up on vice versa, and the Conservatives are shouting it from the dispatch box by Wednesday. So by Wednesday, we'll set out what we believe the terms of reference should include. I'm not in the least bit tired, if I'm honest with you. I'm trying to work this out. It's winding me up. That's not the one I wanted. I'm nothing like Tommy. I know some of you want to put it that way, but I'm not. I'm a political campaigner. I come from a different place. I come from a completely different place. My motive is different. I don't come and sit to you and shout at you about radical Islam. Radical Islam does not run this country. The government runs this country. The laws we made run this country. And I want to hold to account the state for its failings. And if that upsets you, I'm sorry. But I come from a completely different place. You see, in this, I'm not interested. I'm genuinely not. My focus is on that public inquiry, and now we need to make sure that that public inquiry does its job. And that's why I'm in the space I am. And I think that's right, Mark. An important shift in the now. So yes, it is to be celebrated. Because this is what we've been campaigning for. Now we need to make sure that the public inquiry is fit to purpose. And we will do that. And we've now got a growing number of people behind us. I think the least it can be done in is 2 years, possibly 3. I think it's within this parliament. I think it'd be within this parliament. And I agree with him. I'd bring someone from The Hague. Someone who tried the war criminals. Mate, no one is going to take me any more seriously than they already do. They take me seriously. You misunderstand the censorship and the blacklisting of me as being something other than taking me seriously. You, I, and everyone else knows that no matter what they've done to me, I have used everything I've ever been taught and everything that was left inside of me to fight this thing this way. Concisely, strategically, and in a way where we now have what we wanted. So that's where I'm up to. That's where you're up to. We've got the public inquiry. Now we need to make sure that the terms of reference are fit for purpose. And I'll show you how that's done. It's Father's Day tomorrow. I'll spend some time with my daughter. Then I'll go and sit at, it's not this desk I sit at, I sit at a different desk. And I'll spend 3 hours, if not 4 hours, putting together something so you understand the game plan. What we want from the public inquiry is where we start. And we work our way backwards and we match the evidence. All of that I can do. It's no problem, it's just time. That's why we've got Rupert Lowe's Rape Gang Independent Inquiry. That's why. The government sets the terms of reference because it's only the government who can launch a statutory inquiry. And thank you for my red box of popcorn. And sorry, I'm going to put up the super chats now. This is working, so I know a few of you have. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. And that's what it's about, Roy. Keeping up the pressure. And I'm keeping going, Colin. You can see I'm keeping going. Thank you, Kat. Thank you. A general. St. Helens. First person I phoned, Gary Tarbuck, when I found out. First person I phoned. Thank you, Denise. And thank you, Mojo. Now my question, my ask of you is one, take the win. Because it is a win. Take the win. But don't think we are going to stop there. We need to take the win because the majority of people out there aren't like you. They need to know that we forced the government into this position. The survivors need to know, the whistleblowers need to know. If not for yourself, for them. Take the win. Your pessimism, you have to trust us. We will hold them to account. Unless you believe we've just got here because the government brought us here. And our numbers and our expertise are growing by the day. We're not working together in the way I'd like. Maybe that's something Rupert Lowe can sort out at some point. I know he's trying. But I'd like to be part of a team better organised. But leave that to us. Promote us, support us, but trust us. Trust that we can do that. We can hold this public inquiry to account and we can influence it, inform it and shape it. And we can make sure it stays on the straight and narrow. And if I am selfish, my last thing, the only reason I can operate and stay here doing this work is because a small number of you support me. Please support me. Please subscribe to the webpage. Please support this YouTube channel. It costs you nothing. But I need numbers. Someone asked me about, will they take you seriously? I think they already do. But will they force to hear me and put me on a platform or be worried about what I say? The only way that works is if the 4,000, it's pitiful, if the 4,000 becomes 40,000. 50,000. And I'm proud. I'm 100% funded by you, and this is now more important than ever. Because I'm not on their payroll. They can't buy me, they can't influence me, and they can't scare me. If I've not demonstrated that by now. I never will. I need you, those of you who can afford £3 a month, £30 for the year, the equivalent of 75 pence a week, just to sign up. What does it mean to you? You spend more in a pub on a long distance. You'd buy more, but you'd buy me a drink if you saw me, if you met me. So please, sign up. I look at my numbers and it hurts me. We've come so far, it absolutely hurts me. 4, 5 on a good day. You know that whoever and whatever has played a part in this, somewhere in this, I also have been part of this journey. And you all know I do not have any of the restraints of Charlie Peters or any of the others, any of the politicians. I will speak the truth regardless. I will call out right from wrong regardless, and I have a set of skills that I can put to good use to make sure this is not another cover-up. So thank you. Thank you. Just take that financial burden away from me. My friend Gary knows me, some of the others here know me. They've been to where I live. They've seen how I live. Whatever savings I had was wiped out over the last 5 years, 6 years of fighting this for us. We have 4,000 supporters on the webpage. I think 90% of them, 80% definitely, are all on a free membership, so you know how we get in by. So that's my promise to you. I told you I'll get you here, and we're here. Now I'm telling you, this public inquiry will be like no other public inquiry ever seen in this country. And by the end of this, politicians will go to prison for the crimes that they have committed. And this nation will never be the same again. The gang raping of our children will stop. Thank you, Gillian. If you followed my work, you would know how sorrowful I am that the vast majority of people who knew me from my professional life have nothing to do with me anymore. Okay? And it is because of something I've done. It's because I refuse to look the other way to the cover-up of the gang rape of children. I pray for that also. I have no animosity, so we're very clear with, You know, Charlie works for GB News. GB News blackmails me. I speak to Charlie. I thanked him. One of the first things I did was thank him. I admire the man. Maggie, I think, you know, she should be a dame. Tommy Robinson, I'm very clear on my position. I think he's been politically persecuted. I try and see, I think you can see by now, I try and see the good in everyone. And try and be the best person I can be. And we're here. I think so, Gary. I think in the end, I worked with a group of people who it's easy to talk about the difference between right and wrong when you're not tested. Your beliefs, your morals, who you are as a person is only tested. You know, you only know that when you're tested, and how you react and how you respond. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And that's how you should be. That's how you should be. We forced him. We forced him. So please, these are the links. It's a simple link, redwallandarabble.co.uk. If you can't afford it, sign up for free. If you can afford it, just take the hit for £30 or even £3 a month. Help me get to a place where I can just universally focus everything I have on getting this done properly and holding them to account, because we know what they're going to do. You know what they're going to do. I know what they're going to do. We all know what they're going to do. I agreed with you, Douglas. But we're here because we knew what they were going to do and we stopped them. We countered them. The first time they tried to stop me, one of the first times they tried to stop me, they marched into my house and took all my equipment away. My friend Karen Dickinson died last year. At the time, she was stage 3 or even stage 4 cancer. The money she put aside, she sent to me to go and buy a new computer. My friend David Gidman, who's on here, his daughter gave me her phone. This is how we kept going. I won't embarrass her. But when the computer blew up last month or the month before, a friend of mine came to my house. Brought some sweets for my daughter and left me a wad of cash. She knows who she is. Complete stranger over the internet got in touch with me and sent me money over. We've got this far off your goodwill. And what I'm now saying to you is, we're in a position where we can win this. We just need our numbers to grow, so they know how many of us they are fighting. And I agree with you. I agree with you. Karen Dickinson, yes, she lived on a council estate, didn't she, mate? No. Every time I speak, I don't enjoy going to rallies, but every time I speak at a rally when I start by apologising. I owe this country everything. Which is why I'm fighting for it. I'll come back tomorrow, is the aim. Tomorrow evening at a normal time of 9 o'clock. I'll go through what Casey was supposed to have done. And whatever Charlie and his team have come out with, and what the Sunday newspapers will all be publishing headlines now. They all hid this, remember. Far-right conspiracy. Racists. They'll all be running the headlines now. The person they sent off to do a rapid audit to try and cover this up has come back with information so damning that they can't cover it up. And now, 36 hours before the Home Secretary is meant to give her statement, the Prime Minister on a plane to Canada has announced a national inquiry into the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our nation's children. You really have no idea what we have just done. And to my friend, thank you. And to my friend Warren Bates, you're right. We know nothing. I will see you all tomorrow.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.